knows how to hunt. I know how to survive.
Hello friends, my name is Stevie Cade and welcome to Film Trigger. So the long-awaited movie Prey, which is a prequel to the Predator franchise, finally landed on Hulu yesterday. I've actually been very excited for this movie. I've never really been a Predator franchise fan. Like, I saw the first two original movies like over 20 years ago, and that's about the extent I have with it. I actually get really excited when a franchise decides to go a different direction and revitalize itself. I think this movie had a great attempt at doing that. Before we dive into all that though, if you could, hit that like, thumbs up button, that subscribe button, and the little bell ding thing so you get notified every time I upload a new video. Without further ado, let's dive into my review for Prey. Okay, just a little heads up in this review. I'm going to keep it spoiler free, but there might be a moment where I go into spoiler territory. I am not sure if I'm going to do that yet. Depends on how I feel as I keep recording this review. But if I do happen to go into some spoiler territory, I will make sure to let you know before that happens, just in case you don't want anything spoiled for you. But again, I'm not sure. You're just going to have to pay attention to the video. Let's not hold back any further and let's dive immediately into what I like about this movie. And what I like about this movie is the horror aspect of it. The jump scares really got to me. Like, there's not too many. They don't play heavy-handedly into it, but when they do happen, it's a very well-earned jump scare. It's not just there, just like, boo, haha, gotcha. No, it's actually a genuine jump scare. So I appreciate the movie for doing that. Jump scares can typically be overused. This does not overuse it. It's very well done. So thank you for that, Prey movie people. I thought the kills were awesome. The gore, the on-screen, off-screen deaths, it worked so well into playing into the horror aspect of this movie. And there's a lot of things that get killed. Like, a lot of animals. Fuck animals in this movie, apparently. You got humans killing animals, you get animals killing humans, you have aliens killing humans and animals. Animals killing animals, it's pretty much a slasher orgy.
The rest of the day, whenever anyone says a secret word, scream real loud!
So when it comes into the horror element of it, I think they just knocked it out of the park. It delivered what I was looking to come from this movie, but much like the jump scares, it's not gratuitous, it's very well earned. It's just a natural gore fest. Another thing I really enjoyed about this movie was something I kind of touched base on a little earlier, and that's revisiting this franchise in a fresh, unique way. Not a remake, it's not a reboot. It pays homage to the first two films, and this being a new take on the franchise, it really brings on that mind over brute sort of aspect. The original Predator movie was like giant testosterone-filled men with big guns and carrying even bigger guns.
You son of a bitch.
I really liked how this movie brought that down to more of a natural, if you will, more grounded level of competition. I think that's a word to use here. So in this movie, you're actually introduced to a young lady named Naru, and she has to face off against this predator using her homemade weapons, her intuition and natural ability to be a hunter.
I know how to survive.
And I really like how this movie creates a parallel between Predator and Prey being Naru. Or is Naru the Predator? That's a very good question that you need to ask yourself while watching this movie. But that parallel between Predator and Naru is actually pretty distinctive. They both have this tribal sort of mentality, which brings me to the Predator himself. Like, I really enjoy this kind of devolved Predator, if you will, because this movie takes place 300 years before the original film. So when this concept first came about, I'm like, how is a Comanche tribe going to fight against a highly technological advanced predator? I couldn't quite figure it out, but they actually took some of the Predator's tech and made it more tribal itself, thus showing you an evolution of the Predator. It gave room for the creators of this movie to kind of toy with the Predator's look a little bit, give them a slightly different costume, more organic. Predators are people too, so, you know, each one is unique in their own right. Doesn't have to look like they're made in a fucking lab and copy and paste and copy and paste, copy and paste. No, I enjoy the uniqueness of this Predator, and even more that they brought him down to a tribal level. It really adds to the parallel between him and Naru. I feel like they're almost in the same playing ground. Obviously, the Predator has slight upper hand. maybe overconfidently so. And the last thing I really enjoyed about this movie, the overall tone and suspense building that this movie has. The director of this movie also directed 10 Cloverfield Lane. I think that director's name is Don Trachtenberg, I think is how you pronounce it. I don't know. I suck at pronouncing things. Correct me in the comments below. But 10 Cloverfield Lane to me was like one of the best horror movies when it came to tension and suspense building. And you can definitely see that translate into this movie as well. I think Don does a great job building suspense, creating that tension, and that really adds to the horror aspect of it. Moving right along with some things I'm on the fence about when it comes to this movie. Some CGI effects are meh, but they're fair enough. I mean, especially if you compare it to the original, which is go watch the original. This is way better in quality, which becomes very noticeable when the CGI is not up to full par. I mean, the concept, the style, and the landscape of this movie is absolutely beautiful. Because the CGI isn't the only thing that's slightly affected here. There are a few characters in this movie I feel like are just kind of one note, very stale in their line delivery, aka some bad acting we get from some of the sideline characters in this film. And then there's one part I could not help but notice in this movie. There's a moment in this movie where they do a one-shot scene where we follow Naru around her camp, kind of give you grounds of the community that she lives in. The dog following Naru keeps looking back at the production team, like leading him on, going, "Don't look back at us, keep going." It's like, why wouldn't you edit that out? I just noticed some B-side production. Couldn't help notice some of the lower quality dialogue. And again, the dog that keeps looking at the camera during one scene. Like, okay, these are basic things. Let's fix those. There is definitely a lack of camaraderie in this movie. Now, listen, I watched the first Predator movie and this back to back, and that was one of the bigger differences that I noticed. Is in the first movie, it's the Predator versus this team of guys, right? In this movie, you have Predator versus the tribe, Predator versus Naru, Naru versus the tribe, Naru versus her brother.
There's something out there. I'm coming with you.
You can't.
I'm trying to protect you.
Protect me from what?
You don't feel like the team is as one as they should be, with too many lower subplots that really don't play into the movie too much, and the parts that do play in the movie are kind of forced. But more on that here in just a little bit. Another thing I'm on the fence about when it comes to this movie is I wish the Predator was a little more hidden than he is, or maybe he's a little more acknowledged than he is in this movie, because he kind of just shows up. Yeah, he does his invisible thing, but he's not making a secret that he's there. I mean, anybody with eyes can see that there's something crazy going on here. But it seems that Naru is the only one putting these pieces together, and I don't think that quite works as well as the movie wants it to work. Like when she sees the ship in the sky and she's like, "Oh, that's my sign to be a better hunter." Like, no, that was a fucking anomaly, and why are you the only one who saw that?
I saw a sign in the sky. I'm ready.
All these animals being tortured and killed in very violent ways, Naru is the only one noticing that this is happening and doesn't just chalk it off to, "Oh, that's just a bear." Again, if the Predator was more recluse and she had to actually hunt these little things out, then that would make more sense. But it's all just kind of out there in the open. So if it's out there in the open, then let everyone else acknowledge it as well, besides Naru. Now moving along with some things I don't like about this movie. I am not a fan of how Naru is treated in this film. They don't just treat her as like an outcast or an underdog, or "You're not ready to be a hunter," or "You'll never be a hunter." But they straight up like treat her like shit, man. I believe some of her tribe actually hates her and wants her to die. It's very odd, not earned, trying to play into the narrative that Naru is alone, not given the chance to prove herself.
Why do you want to hunt? Because you all think that I can't.
But it doesn't do it in a very organic way. It's just like, "Hey, we don't like you because the script says we don't like you." So, I mean, honestly, the whole tribe themselves, I get why they're in the movie, because that's what Comanches do. They live in tribes. So I understand that, but like, I don't think we need to spend as much time in that world as we did. I would have preferred to see Naru kind of just break off on her own and just do that, which she eventually does. But again, the weak subplots that they force into this movie, it just takes away from like the lightness of the tribe. Like, I feel like most of this tribe are assholes to Naru for no freaking reason, because she's a girl. This tribe sucks. As a matter of fact, this tribe doesn't really seem to notice when anybody's getting killed besides like the main characters. Like, literally, their hunters are being picked off one by one and nobody bats an eye. Then one of the main characters gets in a bad situation and all of a sudden everyone's all emotional. The final battle in this movie is actually really fun. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was directed very well. I love the choreography behind it. But there's one little thing that I just can't get out of my head. And maybe this falls more into some Predator lore that I don't know about. Again, I don't know this franchise very well. So if I missed something, let me know in the comments below. But there's one part in this movie where Naru this is kind of spoilery, but it's not. I'll stay around the spoiler edges here. But Naru gets a hold of some alien tech and obviously just knows how to use it out of nowhere. And it's a pivotal part in the final battle. Not only does she know how to use it, but like it's a main part of the Predator's like equipment. And I can't figure out why the Predator doesn't notice that she's using it. Basically, okay, and this is a little spoiler, that the piece of tech that Naru has, the aiming system, wherever this aiming system points, the ammunition leads to. So when he's not using that, how's he aiming? Because it's still shooting at whatever that's pointing to, but if he doesn't have that on, then where does he think he's shooting? But if somebody stole my targeting system and I was still using that to aim, but didn't have it, I would notice. Overall, this is a very fun movie that breathes new life into what was an otherwise dying franchise. It's new, it's fresh, it brings on the gore. It's an entire slasher orgy going on here.
Good screaming, everybody.
And although I do have a few issues with it, I still walked away from this movie feeling satisfied and I had a lot of fun with it. So for all these reasons, I'm giving this movie a B-.
That was wonderful.
Bravo!
I loved that.
Oh, it was great.
Well, it was pretty good.
Well, it wasn't bad.
There you have it, guys, my review for Prey. Were you excited to see this movie? As excited as I was? And then how did you feel when you watched it? I know a couple of my friends, well, one in particular, that really doesn't like this movie. And I would really like to pick his brain about it and why. Go over to the channel Hit or Miss TV and check out his review. Hi, Ramon. Let me know all your thoughts in the comments below. Also, be sure to check out some more of my videos. And as always, stay trigger happy, my friends. Peace.
Whatever did this, I can kill it.